Hello and welcome to the second episode in our TGIF Q2 webinar series. I'm Alex Yorkwright, Director of Vendor Business Development for Fortinet, and today I'll be joined by Carmen Villegas, Director of Vendor Business Development for Nozomi, and David Yang, Senior Director of Support and Services. Today's topic is connecting IT and IoT into the security fabric with Fortinet and Nozomi. Next slide. All of our regular attendees would have seen this slide before, but for our new attendees in the audience, this represents just a few of Exclusive Network's differentiators. One of our key contributions to the industry is that we only specialize in cybersecurity and the cloud, maintaining specialization within a narrow set of best-of-breed vendors. In this way, Exclusive Networks assists the channel community with vendor-specific and generic training, sales, design, implementation, pre-staging, and of course supply chain logistics, both domestically and globally, filling in the gaps, helping many different types of partners to supply and deliver relevant multi-vendor solutions to their customers. Next slide. Please make sure you follow us on our social media to stay up to date with all of our latest news, offerings and updates. We're currently running the first of our So You Think You Know Fortinet quizzes of Q2. You can find us on any of the platforms depicted at the top of the screen under the relevant account name shown. And once there, you can test your mettle with our fun but informative Fortinet-focused quiz to be in with a chance of winning one of 4 $100 Amazon gift cards. Next slide, please. So here's today's agenda, and presenting to you will be my esteemed colleague, Carmen Villegas. Carmen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alex. Next slide, please. So with the rise of industrial IoT devices and the demand for efficient systems and accessibility, the OT cybersecurity market value has increased dramatically. In 2017, it was valued at $12 billion and is projected to reach $18 billion by 2023. OT and IT have very different visibility and security challenges and require different level of expertise. Our goal is to help you develop those skills today and go through our ongoing session like our upcoming training courses later this month. With the transition comes new challenges, and customers can't protect what they can't see, and they will rely on you as a trusted advisor to help through these challenges. Today you will learn about different industries with large OT and IoT market, and will open many doors for you to make money. For every dollar you sell in hardware, you can make up to $3 in services. How great is that? David will now start your journey of becoming your customer's hero by helping them address vulnerabilities and risk by getting visibility into all industrial IoT, secure their environments using Nozomi networks and Fortinet's integration. David, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alex and Carmen. Thank you, and everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or wherever you are. Thank you for sharing the space and time with me. I would like to address OT technology and IT technology convergence and what we can do to help. Before I jump into the OT, let's talk about industrial networks. Next slide, please. What's the industrial networks? So if we look at the industrial networks pretty much everywhere, we all know there's a utility, there's oil and gas fields, there's water, there's waste treatment, manufacturing, transportation, almost everything. But also, we may or may not know in the entertainment park, theme park like Disneyland, a warehouse like Amazon, or cruise ship or cargo ship floating around in the open sea, and even our office building has an elevator. They all need industrial network. They all have industrial network. What happened is each one of them has a sensor, and those sensors actually belongs to industrial network, and that's what we call endpoints. In the IT network, in IT point of view, endpoint usually means laptop, mobile device. But in the industrial network, endpoint, those sensors are most important piece because they need to get the information. They need to understand what's going on with each of possible moving parts in the field. So like oil gas, they have a meters, they have a gauge, and they have a valve, they have a breakers. And like our electricals, they have meters, they need to have a sensor in there to see what's going on with the meters. So let's take a look at the entertainment. The Circus du Soleil and NGM Grand Las Vegas. They have a motor pole 70 feet, hydraulic cylinder pulling, different position for the stage. Those need a sensor. Any mistake, anything happen, there will be disasters, right? And if you look at Amazon's close to 300 million square feet of warehouse, they have a robots running over. So anything happen, they're going to have very dissatisfied customer and they're going to lose money. Same thing if we look at a cargo and a cruise ship, the engine room, we need to have a sensor. Those sensors are part of very important piece for the industrial network. Those information need to pass along to have multiple monitor and management system. That's what industrial network is about. Next slide, please. So we talk about industrial networks, right? So what's really in control of the whole industrial network? It's very different from IT. IT, we have network monitoring system. But industrial network is something called ICS, Industrial Control System. That's really comprised of different hardware, different software, even different type of networks. And most importantly, there's hundreds of different protocols running within the ICS. Think about this. There's so many different vendors. Those vendors like such as Siemens, such as Schneider Electric, they have a GE. They have their own products. They provide their own control system. They provide even different type of sensor to work with their own system. That's a traditional type of network, traditional type of devices. They plug into different sites, different places to monitor different things, right? So there's a different various type of term called SCADA, called DCS, something called PLC. And I would like to use the next slide to really talk about each one of them. Next slide, please. So if you look at this picture, this simplified diagram, we use something called Purdue model. This Purdue model is published for probably 20-something years already, and then use this model to explain how different type of devices used in this industrial networks. So if we start from the bottom level, you can see there's a level 0 all the way to level 4. So level 0 is the field device, which is the one that we mentioned earlier, the sensors, the gauges, the meters that deploy on the field to monitor those devices like oil pipe, like electric meters. Those sensors in there will transmit the information back to the level 1, which is the control system. If we look at that, those are such as PLC, a programmable logical controller, right? And also RTU, remote terminal unit. Those are more like a smaller controller. I don't know if you guys have seen, if you have been the network industry or network market for a while, if you look at the telco device, if you go to your telco room, you will see those PLC device. Actually, it's like a box and it has a plug-in module in there. That's called PLC. Each of the module is one device that's communicating with the field device on the field that collecting all those information, then send it back to level 2, which is process network, which is the one we talk about, ICS, where it comes from, the SCADA, the DCS. That's where it come from. That SCADA or DCS, they collect all those information from level 1, all those PLCs, RTUs, process those information, and then present it in front of a human being to have a different type of statistics, different type of monitoring stats that show the engineer what's going on with each of the sensors at the field. So think about the large oil field. Think about a theme park that we mentioned earlier. Think about the oil tank, right? Those need to be monitored constantly because any one of them fail, any one of them has a problem, not to the expected level of the service, the whole thing could be shut down. We could have a catastrophic issues happen to the public world, to the human world, to the environment. So those are need to be closely monitored. Now, all those information from level 2 will need pass on to the level 3, such as we see this picture, historian. Historian is the place, it's more like a database in our world that basically collecting all those information and then do further analysis. And those analysis information, those data will need to be passed on to level 4. Now they come to the IT side. Those information will be passed on to the corporate office. Those engineers, those analysts need to take a look at those information and understand what's going on in their field and provide any business intelligence to the executive, to the management, or even to the public. That's how each level works within the ICS. So you can see this diagram. There's ICS is part of the OT. OT is including everything, meaning that all the hardware, all the software, all the statistical information, all the data, all belongs to the OT. And then they have to be transmitted over to the IT side. Next slide, please. By the way, shall they have any questions? Please stop me right away. I'd love to talk about this project, this subject. And if you guys have any question, please stop me anytime. Or you can use the chat to ask questions, please. So the OT, that's all the computers, right, connected together. They have to be in real time monitoring all those devices coming from the PLC, coming from the SCADA to understand what's going on. It has to be real time. And then in the traditional network, we probably don't understand from IT side is that there's a lot of so-called air gap, meaning that they don't really have a wire, or they could be totally disconnected, or they could be using certain copper wire, like such as RS-232, RS-444A, using total different type of protocols. Like I mentioned earlier, hundreds of different type of protocol from different vendors providing those devices, right? Those are something that pretty much unknown and only specific to that particular industry, right? Different industry have their own protocols. And even different industry have different vendor, they have a different protocols. So the complexity is enormous, and definitely is not a standard protocol that we have seen in the IT world, such as TCP/IP. Even some of them using TCP/IP, but they also incorporate their own protocol on top of TCP/IP. So that's very different. Next slide, please. So the challenging, right? Because we hear that. We talk about this, the complexity. We talk about the real time. We talk about the possible impact, effect to the world, right? To the environment, to the public health, right? To the safety. So 24/7 is very, 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 very important. Cannot stress more, right? And then the threats, vulnerability, because different type of protocols, different type of medium, different type of communications media, we cannot see. No, most people cannot see. Most people don't even understand. We'll talk a little bit more later. Then, because we cannot see, it's very difficult to control. If there's any new device added in, nobody even knows. New sensor come in. If that sensor is behaving strangely, we don't even know. So any single incident could cause devastating consequences, right? Next slide, please. So we can, based on that, we can all understand 100% visibility is very important. Where there is a new device behaving abnormally, where there's a new device suddenly injected into the field, those things need to be visible, right? We need to, and then OT need to immediately, we talk about 24/7 availability. So immediately need to detect there's any possible risk, not just physical risk, not just hardware risk, not just a malfunction, but also any cyber attack could come in. There's a multiple instance happen in the world that a lot of cyber attack targeting specifically on those OT environment. because nobody really know what's going on with those OTs. So once we have those information visible, we need to understand what's going on. So the human being or what could be machine immediately respond to the upcoming risk or any possible threats to troubleshoot and to quickly respond to that. And also scalability is very, very important because you can start from one side, go to multiple sites, go to different type of devices. So scalability is also very important, and centrally and remotely secure is very important. Next slide, please. So if we talk about this, what's the risk coming into this industrial network, coming into this OT? Really, if you look at this, we talk about domain-specific technology. That means because vendors, those device vendors, those product vendors, they have their own protocols. So their own technology developed probably the past 50, 60 years, right? They use some very old technology. They also deploy some new technology. However, those two doesn't really mix together, and they use their own proprietary technology to implement that. That comes a problem. Because all those traditionals development, all those traditional old technology, including the modern technology, they need to work together. So a lot of time they don't have authentication. In the past, if you think about those devices don't field, nobody really care about authentication because only those field service engineer will look at those, right? Only the engineer in the control room, the ICS control room will look at those. So there's no need for authentication. And there's definitely not encryption included in there. And because need to be really fast and try to deploy right away. So that could contain a lot of backdoors possibility risk in there. And also never have those, nowadays we talk about buffer overflow almost everywhere. Those buffer overflow, those understanding, those methodology definitely is not in there in the old technology, in the traditional OT environment. And then because of that, there's a lot of a tailored attack based on the vendor's device, based on vendor technologies. There's a tailored attack to go to hunt those devices and try to get those devices open up for their botnet type of threats. Next slide, please. Now, we all know what IoT is. Now, IoT actually, as very surprisingly nowadays, is almost being everywhere because IoT contains a very small device, like sensors type device, like smart meter type device. They all have IoT in there. That's actually present another different kind of threats that's actually open up a much bigger attack area. The attack vector can come in from all those IoT devices that are known to the world. And especially because each of the vendors develop their own, that could present a major risk to the world, right? So those IoT actually can be easily be attacked by the botnet. And then DDoS or DOS kind of attack is all over the place for such development. Next slide, please. So from what we just talked about, OT is very kind of different from IT. So OT is actually really, if we look at this, it's the safety, reliability is probably #1 of the OT security. When we talk about IT, we usually talk about CIA, right? Confidentiality, integrity, and availability. It's not that they are not important, but in terms of ordering, you can see the availability is usually the last. But however, in OT, is supposed to be #1 thing, right? A is availability. So in terms of OT world, availability is probably #1 concern of all. However, because availability is hard to incorporate in this world because now OT is getting more modern technologies. So the safety, the different protocols, the IoT, the different type of system they try to integrate together is getting more difficult. So number one things we need to think about, go to the next slide, please. In the past, we look at different OT's environment, right? So it's very isolated. Like I mentioned earlier, over and over again, the proprietary protocols, right? All those different proprietary protocols divided by different vendors, different need, different industry. It's very difficult to incorporate together. And they usually use specialized hardware, right? Such as some kind of a hardware that's rugged, that's very small, and can survive in those very harsh environment, right? Those devices has to be embedded OS, very specialized hardware, and they use different type of medium to connect to network. It doesn't have to be a copper wire. There's something called Zigbee, right? It's a wireless network, but we rarely see that in our IT world. So now today's OT need to, just like we mentioned earlier, if you look at a Purdue model, level 0 all the way to level 4. Level 4, once they got into an IT network, now the OT moving to the IT network, it's merging together how we can manage the OT with our IT technology, with our IT management security. That's a big topic for us, and that's opened up a big market. So nowadays, all the OT is moving a mainstream IT OS. So we can look at it later. In my demo, you will see that there's a lot of OS in there. It's a very old technology. However, how can we prevent the threat happening to those are very, very important to us. Next slide, please. Today, I want to introduce you the best solution in the world at this moment. Is really a Fortinet security fabric. So if you look at the OT, right, there's all those different devices, all those different protocols, right? Nozomi sit right over there to provide network visibility. Now we have a visibility on the network on the OT side. What do we need to do with it? We need to incorporate into Fortinet security fabric. And as we all know already, we are all veteran of Fortinet. So we all know the FortiGate is a core product, it's a core technology. Surrounded by the FortiGuard lab, right? FortiGuard lab provide a brain and provide wisdom of the whole Fortinet security. And then different type of product covering from end to end. And you guys all know about security fabrics. So all the FortiSIEM, FortiNAC, FortiAP, FortiSwitch, all can be worked together to take the visibility from the Nozomi's Guardian network into consideration to see what needs to be done with all those, and also collecting information, feeding to the FortiSIEM, feeding to the FortiGuard lab to have further analysis, to have a further understanding what kind of threat, so we can do deeper threat hunting to understand where the threats coming from, where the threats originally come from. We can all go to Google, do some search. Actually, there's a lot of threats nowadays, even though they know there's a threat, they still couldn't figure out what the origin is, still couldn't figure out what's underlying skill or technique is. That's the difficulty. Now we bring in Fortinet, FortiGuard, FortiSecurity Fabric things, then we can definitely go through that together. Next slide, please. So quickly introduce the Nozomi Guardians. The Nozomi Guardians had including two very important pieces. That's their brain. So asset intelligence and threat intelligence. Later on during the demo, I'll show you how they work. In this moment, if you look at the asset intelligence, basically, Nozomi Guardian will look at the whole OT network because they understand close to 200 protocols in the OT world. So they can understand what's going on and then digest all those information and provide what kind of assets currently in the OT world, right? All those devices, including PLC, including HMI, including all the control system, including all the field devices, will be presented as asset intelligence. They understand issue of asset. Why is that? Because now we know, now the Guardian can monitor those devices, understand what they're going to see if there's any vulnerability if there's abnormal behavior and use that asset to manage if there's any intruders coming in, any attack happening at the time. And so engineer can respond quickly, as well as security fabric, the FortiGate can respond faster to block, to kill that particular threats. Now, threat intelligence, that relates to asset management, asset intelligence, because threat based on asset, they can totally understand, they can build a story behind each of the threats. So engineer can quickly respond to that. So that's a guardian. And then if you have a much larger deployment, you have multiple guardian deployed to control, to manage different area of a network, different location of networks, then you need to have CMC, the Central Management Console, to take a look at all the data coming from guardian to provide a single pane of glass to understand what's going on. As well as, I'll show you that later, that CMC, usually in the OT world, they don't want to connect to internet directly, right? So CMC can connect to internet, and the guardian in each field, they don't need to. So all those updates, the threats updates, can come in from the CMC, push down to those guardians. We'll talk about this a minute later. Next slide, please. So this is a technology overview, right? So you can see the bottom line is a Nozomi network analytics. Now, analyze all the data collected from the fields because they understand all those protocols. They can do a discovery for all the devices. Then they pass on to different information that provide a real clear view how those works. So you have assets, you have nodes, you have a network, you have vulnerability, and you have way to monitor what's going on, give you alert, understanding something's going on, and build that story behind those attacks, right? Guardian is not just a hardware solution. It's not just based on the database, the threat database. It actually has its own AI built into it. It has a machine learning pieces built into it. So they can take a look at the database to understand existing threat, but they also have a machine learning to look at the behavior on those possible protocols, possible device behaving abnormally. Next slide, please. So this is simple deployment, or I should say the standard deployment, right? So just one guardian deployed in the field, right? So you can see that guardians is non-intrusive. So all you need to do is have a span or mirror port coming from whatever switch, right? And then go into the guardian. You can see that on the picture. You can have a multiple network interface. So guardian will look at the field, the whole field, to understand and discover all the devices in there. Next slide, please. So this is the multiple deployment scenario. That's why we talk about CMC, the central management console, right? So that's what it does. You can have a multiple guardian deploy in different large sites, different sites, and then different levels of providing the service, providing network discovery, and then feed that information finally back to CMC. And CMC can also push all the necessary information back to Guardian to help protect better. Next slide, please. Now we can see the Fortinet has a security fabric, the FortiGate, the FortiGuard labs. And we can also see Nozomi doing the discovery, doing the network visibility side. So these two, we can merge together, or combine together, integrate together, we can provide a real turnkey solutions, right? We can also use Fortinet as well as Nozomi to do more fine tuning to have a better understanding, better control from the networking side as well as the security side. And then really we're providing the overall security. Fortinet already providing end-to-end, the whole landscape of attack area to understand what's going on in the IT world. We already do is apply that experience, apply that knowledge and merge into the OT world and help OT to become much secure. Next slide, please. Currently, there's direct security fabric connections. It's based on the FortiGate, and there's a Fortinet, and there's a FortiSIM. And we can definitely talk about this a little bit more later, but at this moment, there's a direct connection. There's a Nozomi has using the Fortinet's REST API to write the API script to feed information back into FortiGate, Fortinet, and FortiSIM. If you guys are interested in the Fortinet and FortiSIM solution, let us know. We can provide another webinar for those. And then today we're going to do a demo just on the FortiGate integration part. Next slide, please. So we're going to do a demo now, right? And for the demo, I'm going to show you an overall Nozomi Guardians. We're going to introduce you the dashboard, the environment, the analysis, and then I'm going to show you the threat intelligence and asset intelligence. And finally, I'll show you the integration part. Can you guys see the screen?
Yes, they can.
Okay, great. Thank you. This is Guardian, right? You guys see the screen? Okay.
Now it's just your desktop.
Oh, just my desktop? Sorry. Let me stop sharing again. Hold on, let me enlarge the screen. Give me a sec. So share my screen again. Do you see the screen?
Yes, we do.
Yes, the screen?
Yes.
Great, thank you very much. So this is Nozomi, right? And I'm running, it's a demo machines, right? So in my lab, in my home lab actually. So this is a dashboard and we can look at it. And then I'm also going to show you later how they work together with the FortiGate. So when you first log in, you will see the dashboard. So that dashboard will basically show you the assets. Remember the asset we're talking about? So all the devices in there. And this is nodes. The difference between nodes, you can see that assets are actually less than nodes because nodes is network connection. Basically, whatever network connected to, it was chosen a node. So that means there's some assets actually have a multiple connections to the network, right? And we can definitely click to that, but I'm not going to do it right now. We can show you later. And you can see that right now only detect 24 protocols. That's a lot already, actually, right? Not saying that we're going to have 200 protocols. So the thing is this, right? So all this information just give you a high level overview, but I want you guys to pay more attention to this, the asset overview. You can see that there's a level 3, there's one computer. Remember the level in the Purdue model? If you look at level 1, there's different devices, the PLC. See, there's a barcode readers. There's some other type of OT devices in there, right? So I'm going to show you this right away. So I'm going to jump into the network view to look at all the network devices that discovered. This, again, this is demo units, right? So I'm just showing you by demo because I run some PCAP files that do simulation of the real network. So you guys can see that. It's a different device in here. And you can see different colors. So if you click on this question mark, you see talking about what they are, right? So you can see that this is a dark pink, it's a multi-row. So this is multi-row. We'll see this later. And you can see the green one is terminal, the red one is master. What's master? Master is the one that collecting, just like HMI, right? It's collecting all those information. It could be PLC, right? Collecting information from those slave devices. What's a slave device? The slave device would be like devices that on the field, the sensors. Those are slave devices, right? So, and historian, like I mentioned to you, historian is the one that collecting all those data and do further analysis with it. Right, so let me take a look at this. So I'm going to double click this. Oh, now show me. So this is multiple role, right? So this one is a web server and as well as master, right? And then you can see that node is fully learned. And look at this. This particular machine is a HP's and running what? You guys probably haven't heard this for a long time, or maybe some other environment, right? XP, horrible. Anyway, so this vulnerability here. And we all know the Windows always have certain vulnerability, right? That's why they will have pretty much daily updates. So if you look at this, so I click on the info, you can see this particular device, 1.12, right? And tell me exactly what it is. The Mac vendors, right? The Mac device vendors, right? So the network device, right? And then you can see what kind of protocol it's running. Let me enlarge it, right? It's run DNS, HTTP, the IEC. Those are the OT protocols. We probably never heard of it, but you can look at this SMB, and VNC remote control. That presents some vulnerability, absolutely, right? And then toward here, you can see that this is all the connections make. And we can drill into each of them if we want to and see who are they, right? Who are they connected to? And you can see that this one's connected to happen to be a ABB industrial system, right? It's an OT device, right? This just gives you an overall understanding what's going on with that device, right? So I'm gonna close this info. Now, also, I wanna show you some very interesting things, right? So let's say we choose a role, let's say public nodes. What does that mean? Meaning that this is the nodes that only connect to the public. Do you see that? So this one, the red box, this one is the one really facing the public. So we take a look at it, oh, this is a web server. Okay, it's running VMware. There's no really vulnerability found on this machine. That's not bad, it's pretty good, right? So just give you understanding what's going on with the network, right? So I'm gonna take it out. We do a reset. This is how easily it is. You can trace what's going on with the network, right? You can see that how they connected. And if you want to see, oh, there's too much lines in there, you can easily see who's connected to them. Who's connected to them, right? That's how easy they can be. Now, also the links, we can take a look at it. So if, let's say we pick a different protocol. Let's say we pick the one that we know. How about that? We say, let's say SMBs, right? Oops. SMB apply. See that? All those machines using SMBs connected together. So they're doing some kind of file sharing, mostly, right? Could be printing sharing, but mostly file sharing, right? So you can see that you can drill into each one of them and see what's going on. This is all the network discovery happened on the Nozomi in real time, pretty much. Okay, right? Now, what I want to do is also show you this. So this is graphics, right? I'm going to show you nodes. So this is all nodes. I want to see different nodes. So I want to say over here, I want to say different machines, different things. Let's see different rows. Let's look at who are the masters. So this is a master. You can see that they are computers, and you can see that. So this most likely is a HMI, right? Right, human machine interface, right? And then you can see that because HMI sometimes is using a web browser, serving as a web server, receiving data from the field, right? So you can see that they are all XPs. Immediately, you know they present some kind of vulnerability in there, right? You can drill into it. You can see that over here, just like we saw earlier, right? Or we can also look at the links. Right, there's different links between nodes. You see that from this link to this link. So we can look at it here. You see that VoIP. So we can see that SIP protocol between these two nodes. Right, it's not really. So tell me what's going on with each node. Right, and then we can look at the sessions. Different session here. UTP session. So we can say, okay, let me look at the TCP sessions. So this is all the TCP session going on, currently going on. This one you can see that's using HTTP, but apparently a lot of SIP protocols going on. And Modbus is one of the proprietary protocol, very popular in the OT industry, or I should say industrial network, right? Controlling, communicating with the field devices, right? So that's what you can see. Then we can go ahead, take a look at the alerts. Oh, you can see some alerts here. So 18 entries. So there's going on with 18 different alerts here. So we can build a history among them. So that's a group by instance, right? So let's look at this one. So basically telling you there's a suspicious traffic going on with this on this node, right? And we can look at details. So pretty much tell me the story of this possibly risk, right? Suspicious risk. It could be deemed to be risk, right? If it is indeed a risk, it will send information to the Fortinet, right? So that's what I'm going to show you this. So now you have an overall visibility of the Fortinet of your OT networks, right? Just you can build reports and different analysis reports, right? So you can see that. Oh, sorry. I have different reports here, right? Vulnerability assessment reports here, so I can bring it up. Tell me what's going on with this network, right? So the other thing I really want to show you is now we see there's a risk. We see there's a vulnerabilities. There's a threat coming in. What should we do with it, right? So let's go into this one. Before I do the integration, I want to do this. Go to the audit. There's all the logs, right? So I do the search on the Fortinet, but let me show you this. Firewall integration, very easy integration on the firewall. So this is a FortiGate. So for new one, so just click on plus and select different firewall here, right? I select FortiGate 6 already. So this is a FortiGate 6, meaning 6.0, OS 6.0. And then all I need to do is fill in the IP address. If there's a VDOM, the default VDOM is root, right? And I need to enter this access token. I'll show you this. This is for the REST APIs. You need to have a token in order to inject the API into the FortiGate, right? And then this is the option. I want to kill. I want to do everything. So we just leave this over here for now. And let me go to my FortiGate. Let me show you this. This is actually my home computer, right? I'm running my lab in my home. So let me go into this one. So system, go to the admin profile. So I create a profile called Nozomi. I cannot use the default administrator profile. I have to create a new one. So I just create a new one, just say I give everything. Of course, you can choose differently. It doesn't really need a VPN, but I just choose everything. And then in the administrator, I need to create a new, so when you do create new, you do REST API admin. So this is REST API admin, right? Let me add it. So you can see that, just fill in information, and then I put a trusted host in here. You can put the whole network or just put this particular Nozomi IP address, right? And then you generate API key. So over here, you can regenerate. So just say generate, and there's generate a new key. That's the key. You copy and paste. Sorry, let me show you again. So this is the key. You can click on here to do copy. See that? Copy to the clipboard. Okay. You copy this key and you fill into this access token. I'm not going to do that because I did already previously. And then save it. Once you save it, that's it. The integration is done. Right? Now, I want to show you the result, right? So what happened? Do you remember, if you guys will remember, there's an alert, right? There's a threat coming in. What happened to them, right? So I'm going to show you that. So first of all, I go to the audit here. You can see that. Over here, you can see system firewall, Fortinet FortiGate, session killed, right? All the threat session been killed, right? And you can see that. It says unblock here. Right, so if we go further down, let me just go further down. Oops. Further down, I think here, go. Right, so you can see this block, right? So what happened is this. What happened is, Nozomi see there's a threat coming in. So it generate, it deemed to be alert or deemed to be a threat. So it's generate an API call to the FortiGate. Say FortiGate, kill this session, block this session. So what it had done is they send that to the FortiGate. And FortiGate, once FortiGate is done, it got a response from FortiGate, Nozomi will say, okay, now take those policy out. So that's what it does, say unblock those IPs. So if we come to here, hopefully it's still presence, right? So let me see. Oh, I need to log in again, sorry about that. It timed me out. So I'm using, well, I don't know if you guys know, right? So I'm using FortiGate Cloud to have all my log for 7 days, right? So it's free license, right? So I log in and I go to my analysis part. I'm not trying to do the FortiGate Cloud demo for you, but just in case you don't know, right? So I have a multiple device in there. I go to my log. This is all my view. I go to my log on the FortiGate side. I look at this, look at my system log, right? Right, see, this is login field. Well, somebody tried to attack me something. Interesting, that's a good one. So what I want to do is I want to add action. I want to show you guys different things here. System log, I want to look at the past 24 hours. Filter, I'm going to show you how FortiGate reacts to Nozomi's API request. So you can see that, right? Delete the firewall policy. Remember the one we saw on blocking? This unblock, that's actually deleting the firewall policy, right? So you can see that the API calls to the FortiGate to insert a policy, and later, once it's done, remove the policy. That's API calls. I want to show you that. Give me 1 second, then it'll show you that it's actually right in the middle of adding and removing. So do you see that? So add a firewall policy, move the policy, and then later delete the policy. You see that? So what it does is really, if you look at the integration part.
Hey, David, I just want to give you a quick update. We have about a minute just because we have to.
Oh, sorry about this. Yeah. So no, you can see that. So you can see that I have done this, say, I want to move the policy on top. That's what it does, API calls. All right, sorry, take a little bit longer time, but if you guys feel more interested, let me know. We can definitely do a one-on-one conversation on this.
Thanks, David. And I'll
Sure.
go ahead and share my screen again.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for that demo, David. Hi guys, so our goal is to provide you with a solution that will complement what you're currently already doing with your IT security sales efforts, and able to support your clients within the industries that we discussed today, and make it as easy as possible to do a cross-sell and find and identify new opportunities. And of course, while doing so, put money back in your pockets with low cost to you. Just to narrow down and give you an idea, Nozomi will allow you to give you new ways to have new conversations with new buyers, as well, whether it's with existing customers or with new prospects. And then to give you an idea, Nozomi gives you for every $1 in hardware, it gives you $3 in services that you are able to provide. And their average deal size is 100,000, and it doubles for every site that you add on. So here at Exclusive, we partner with Nozomi to be able to provide you with the support that you need, your customers need, as well as from the sales and engineering and doing a delivery to your customers. And this is on a global scale. One of the things we want to do also is provide you with the training and tools that you need. So next slide, please. So what we've done is we put together a training for Nozomi. It's going to be a Nozomi partner training. It's going to take place May 13th and May 14th. The first day is going to be focused more for our sales organization. It's going to learn about the OT market, who to target, and really understand the use cases and the benefits that that gives to your customers. and of course determining the key differentiators between the OT and IoT, and successfully position it to your customers. On May 14th, it's going to be focused on pre-sales. You'll also see a demo. You'll learn about the product line and more in depth, including the capacity, the features, and the benefits. As well, again, we're going to be also seeing the different use cases and really having a conversation around those use cases and how to pitch it to your customers. So if you're interested in joining us for the partner training, please feel free to reach out to your exclusive account manager or myself. My information will be displayed here in a later slide, so you can jot that down, shoot me an email, and we'll get you registered for that training. Next slide, please. And for additional, again, OT resources, we want to have those available to you. You can find them on the Fortinet partner portal, as well as the Nozomi the website, the partner portal. They also have a community page where you can go in there and engage with others. There's a video that Fortinet has put together, and I highly recommend that you go and take a few moments to watch this video. It's on the industrial and IoT integration with Nozomi and Fortinet. It's a fantastic video, definitely worth watching. Next slide, please. And again, we also have the resources here for Fortinet. You can go to their website for general information, or if you're interested in becoming a Fortinet partner, and for more details, you can visit their partner portal, as well as like their support. So here's a list of different resources. And now I'll pass it over to Alex, who will share a little bit more hardware service.
Thank you, Carmen. So I just wanted to make sure that all of our partners are aware of our hardware as a service program. Exclusive networks have partnered with Fortinet in order to provide this agile and competitive program. Many partners have already identified that customers are transitioning to a monthly consumption model. However, standing up a program in order to be able to offer this independently can be extremely costly and ties up cash flow. We offer this in order to help partners transform their business, develop services creation, and make partners stickier with their customers. As you can see from the graph, the predictability of future OPEX spending is exactly that. It's far more predictable, making a recurring monthly cost a far easier conversation to have with customers. This program is available for assets within your own network as well. For example, FortiManager and FortiAnalyzer, to lessen the impact of purchasing assets as you grow out your own services practice. And this is not just physical units that are available. It's hardware units, virtual appliances, and licenses as well. So please feel free to contact us. Next slide. Again, as a quick reminder, please do follow us on social media and take part in our So You Think You Know Fortinet quiz. You have to be in it to win it. There will be 3 quiz drops this quarter, which means 3 times the opportunity to win a gift card. Once signed up to any of our social media channels that should show up in your news feed, you could be able to stay up to date not only with the quiz drops, but with all of the latest news, offering, and updates. Next slide. For those of you who aren't aware already, Fortinet have transitioned their Accelerate conference to an online version. This will be taking place next Tuesday on the 12th of May. If you haven't done so already, please do sign up using the link shown here at the bottom of the screen, and we can pop this in the chat for you as well. It's completely free of charge to do so. The sessions on the day will provide a lot of interesting information for partners, with keynote sessions to kick off the day, followed by breakout sessions of your choice, which contain extremely valuable content. So it's very worth attending. Next slide. And as you can see here, some of the other best of breed vendors that I mentioned earlier in the webinar. If you'd like to know anything more about any of the other vendors that you see here listed on our line card, please do feel free to reach out to us. Next slide. And you can do so either directly via your dedicated Exclusive Networks account manager, or via myself or Carmen, whose details are listed here below. If you have any technical questions or would like a one-on-one demo, as David mentioned, please feel free to email our fantastic engineering team using this alias. We would love to hear from you. Next slide. And thank you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you next Friday for the MSSP Transformation webinar, helping our partners understand how they can grow their security practice leveraging Fortinet. We will be joined for next week's webinar by Fortinet's very own Stephen Talent, who is the Senior Director of MSSP and Service Enablement. For anyone who hasn't ever had the pleasure of seeing Stephen present before, I would absolutely recommend it. He's one of the most engaging and enigmatic presenters I have ever met. And at this point, I would like to hand over to my colleague, Josh Matos, to go through the questions that we received in the chat.
Perfect, thank you. And here we go. What is the deployment method? Do you deploy sensors at a distributed systems and have logs come to the main site? And do you have logs going to the cloud for reporting?
Yeah, so at this moment, it's really depends how the OT is implemented, right? So you can what Fortinet does or FortiSIEM does is really collecting information from Nozomi, right? So Nozomi will send those information to the Fortinet side or security fabric realm or framework. And all the OT side will still handled by the Forti implementations. Awesome.
Is the FortiNAC required for this IT to ICS solution?
Yeah, FortiNAC is not required. As I show you already, right now it's only 40 gate integrated with the Nozomi. If you want to deploy, FortiNAC is really meaning for anything that connect to the IT switches, routers, any network nodes on IT side, Fortinet will be able to identify. And then with the integration with the Nozomi, that meaning we're combining both worlds of network visibility into one place. And the Fortinet definitely can do better on the quarantine certain nodes of abnormal behavior nodes into certain quarantine sites. That's what Fortinet does.
Awesome. And can you sort via the Purdue model?
Yeah, I don't know if you see the dashboard in the asset view. I don't know if you see that, but that's actually the Purdue model because that's what Nozomi is using is the Purdue model. The asset view doesn't show the level 0, which is all the sensor information there because they are not really on the visible network side. But all the information collecting from the PLC actually see all those sensors. So those information will reflect onto the Nozomi management.
Perfect. And last question, just because we're right at the top of the hour, does Nozomi only work with the Fortinet fabric?
No. Yeah, sorry about that. So I don't know if you have a chance to see that, but when I try to create a firewall integration, then it does show that you can do Checkpoint, Palo Alto, Cisco as well. However, we all know Fortinet has a security fabric. None of them has. Right, so Fortinet can really provide end-to-end security. Nobody else does. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it and have a great rest of your day. Have a good one.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. Stay safe.